Karen Mathiak, welcome, and we appreciate the opportunity to talk with you for a couple of minutes here. You're running for the 73rd District in the General Assembly of Georgia, and could you tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll get into your district.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate being here this afternoon. It's a good opportunity. My husband and I moved here in 1980 to Georgia so that I could go to Life University to become a chiropractor. Got to the South as quick as we could. So you can see that we've been here a little over 30 years and have enjoyed every minute of being in Georgia. We've been married since 1974, kind of high school sweethearts, and we adopted our son after 20 years of marriage. And just delighted to be a part of Georgia's heritage.
Now, is this your first foray into politics? Have you been involved with parties or anything like that before?
Actually, I ran for Spalding County Commission years ago and didn't quite make it. I've always had a love for politics. My parents have always taught us the importance of voting. I remember as a kid going into the voting booth and the curtain closing, switching the lever and the curtain closing, and how mysterious that was, and all those little levers, and wondering what they always meant. And that was my introduction into politics.
Now, have you always pulled the levers on the right side of the voting machine?
I think I've always done that correctly. But then when I moved to Spalding, I got involved with the Republican Party there and became chairman of the Republican Party for a little over 10 years, and I'm proud of what we had done. In fact, the women from Fayette County were the ones that helped us really procedurally put together some of the things in Spalding County, so I'm very proud and honored to have such a relationship with some of the people here in Fayetteville, so thank you.
What would you say motivated you to throw your hat in the ring to run for the General Assembly? That's a pretty big step.
It is. Prayerfully speaking, I've thought about it for many, many years. I've always wanted to be a part of good legislation. And I do believe in term limits, and as I'm talking to some of my colleagues, my soon-to-be colleagues in the House, there's some people there that do believe in term limits. As I've campaigned, I'm sure you've heard me say that I will commit to 8 years. That's 4 election cycles. Our election cycles are 2 years apiece. So I think that's a good amount of time. I talked with a retired legislator today, and I said I was excited about possibly working with this individual, and he retired, and I said, what happened? And he said, I believed in term limits, and I stuck to my guns.
Self-imposed.
Self-imposed, okay. Exactly.
Now, your district covers a couple of counties here on the south side of the metro Atlanta region. What are the couple of issues that you think are most important to the citizens that you'll represent them on up in the Gold Dome?
I think as I speak to all 3 counties, the number one thing I believe is the economy and securing some jobs on the south side, little better paying jobs.
How do you affect that as a legislator?
Well, I think that sometimes jobs or companies are attracted to the north side, excuse me, and then the south side doesn't get that oomph or that pull for some of the larger corporations. I've watched so many of my friends and now constituents, their children, graduating from high school, moving on to college, and not coming back to the south side for financial reasons, for the most part.
Are there any specific ways you would incentivize corporations with those kind of jobs that are available to our college graduates to consider the south side?
Well, I think we have a lot to offer on the south side. I think sometimes,
Less traffic.
well, and let's talk about that too. As a caveat, that would have been one of my other concerns for the south side. Let's talk about Fayetteville Highway 92 and some of the issues and the time elements that we have in the early morning, people coming to the west side and then in the evening going back to the east side of the state, and traffic patternings with trucks. That seems to be an issue not only on 92 but 16. We've all traveled it. We all know the issues that we've had.
Now, a lot of the work that goes on under the Gold Dome is done inside committees. And is transportation one of the committees you'd serve on if you were asked?
At this point, I guess when you're a freshman, you kind of are happy to find the parking lot. That's that we kind of tease about. My heart's desire, of course, being a healthcare provider is health and insurance and some of the things that the state does provide for or does have committees that serve over. But transportation would be something that, just because that's an interest.
Now, I suspect as a freshman legislator, you may also be under some pressure from the leadership in the House to vote certain ways or to support certain legislation and possibly even influence other legislators to do that. How do you respond to that, particularly if it's legislation that you don't feel committed to?
I think that the first thing that I would say to you, Bob, is we have got to build relationships within my colleagues so that we can see exactly what it is that piece of legislation is going to affect the 73rd. That will be my we've talked about litmus test. Number one, is it constitutional and procedurally correct? But also, is it something that is going to be good for the 73rd? That being said, is it going to take it a step further? Will it be something that's good for the whole state of Georgia? And I think there's a balance there. I think that sometimes those conversations have to be hammered out, and like you said, in committees, in learning what is going to be.
Are you prepared to vote against the leadership on certain issues if your heart and your constituents take you in that direction?
I think so. I think so.
Okay. And is there any specific event that's happened recently in your past that sparked your decision to actually follow through on your thinking of putting your hat in the ring?
Again, it's term limits. I felt like some of our legislators have turned this into a career, and so that was one of my reasons. Another reason is I believe that we needed some fresher ideas for the South Side and for the 73rd. So that was that. I thought about that long and hard.
And how do you, what's your reaction and how would you follow through with it on federal overreach into the state of Georgia when they declare policies that have yet to be challenged in court? Is that something you could step forward and challenge, or how do you respond to those?
As I'm talking with our constituents in the 73rd, I shouldn't say they, let me say we all have concerns about the federal government overreaching into our state and into policies that should be states' rights. Again, Constitution, but still we have got to protect our states' rights.
Okay, let me jump around just a little bit and talk about transportation. That's always big, whether you're anywhere in the district or in the region. Is mass transit and systems that we see with MARTA an appropriate solution for the 73rd District?
For me and for the constituents that I've been visiting with, we enjoy our ruralness, so to speak.
Character?
Rural character, yes. In the 73rd, we do have that constant flow back into Atlanta, the people that do have employment at the airport or downtown Atlanta or wherever they may be commuting to. But I think this is our safe haven and our quiet place for us to raise our children.
Now, we've got 4 initiatives for constitutional amendments, excuse me, on the ballot this year. They were voted on by your predecessors up in the General Assembly. Would you be supportive of those amendments? One of those is for the Judicial Committee and to revise how its members are picked. And another one has to do with the education and having more of that under the control of the governor. And then I think we've got 2 others. One has to do with the allocation of taxes on fireworks, and then the 4th one has to do with fines on sex trafficking and crimes.
I'm studying each one of them diligently. I have to be honest, I thought that I had it down and I was ready to vote. The more I talk, or the more I listen and speak with our constituents, the more questions I have. So I'm not so prepared to jump on those bandwagons yet. I know you wanted to hear something a little more specific than that, but one thing that I will promise our constituents, that I will do my homework. I will listen. I think that's important, and I think that's what our constituents expect out of me.
Karen Mathiak pledged to read and examine all the legislation that
I'm
comes
going to
across
try
her
like
desk?
crazy, and I know what you're talking about at the end of the day, and we have that 2 hours supposedly to read. I just want to make wise decisions.
Okay.
So.
Are there any other points you'd like to get across to the voters throughout the 73rd District? You've got competition.
Yes,
You've got a challenger in this, and what should they be thinking about when they consider you and the challenger?
I would like for everyone that votes to look at the whole ballot. Let's not just look at the top of the ballot. Let's look at the whole ballot and vote. I think this is such a contentious year in politics, and I think that we have got to make some wise decisions in who we're putting forward in our future. And that's how I see myself, is looking forward into a future for not only my grandchildren but great-grandchildren. And I think that my conservative values will carry me through, if I make it 8 years, if my commitment takes me through 8 years. And that's where my heart is, that's where my ears are, and I hope that people will hear that when they get to speak with me. I hope that people realize that I am user-friendly. On my push card, I had my cell phone number on there, and some of my friends said, "Oh my gosh, did you really do that?" I said, "Yes, I'm serious. That's how serious. That's how serious this job is." And I've enjoyed since March. We've been campaigning since March. I have so enjoyed learning Hampton and the Henry County folks. I knew a lot of folks here in Fayette just through the GOP, and it's been a real eye-opener, and it's been just, I don't want to sound cliche, but the thrill of my life to know what great people live in the 73rd, and I'm so proud, and I just can't wait. I just can't wait.
Well, Karen, we certainly appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and your campaign and to stop by for a couple of minutes and answer some questions. And we wish you the best of luck in the 73rd District on the 8th of November.
Thank you.
And advance voting starts
On October 17th.
All right.
I do have a website, weneedkaren.com, and we all know Facebook is just a plethora of information.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.